how Chinese medicine and acupuncture work for supporting fertility and women's health issues. And I'm going to explain what acupuncture and Chinese medicine does, how it can support women's health issues and fertility, and break up a lot of common misconceptions. I'm going to talk about when you should be getting acupuncture, how often you should be doing acupuncture, and what Chinese medicine means in general, and how to support everything. And in doing this, a big goal of mine is to break up these two common misconceptions that I often hear. And one is that acupuncture and Chinese medicine are only supportive when women are going through IVF, that it's only supportive in helping women get pregnant if they're doing IVF, when that is not the case. Acupuncture and Chinese medicine are supportive in helping women prevent IVF, and that is the majority of my practice. 80% of the women I see are coming to me to get pregnant naturally and do get pregnant naturally. The other 20% I am supporting through assisted fertility methods such as IVF. And the second biggest misconception is that acupuncture and Chinese medicine work for fertility by only doing these small things, which is increasing blood flow, calming your nervous system, and warming the womb. And while yes, acupuncture does do those things, that is really simplifying it. It's almost like saying that a soccer player only kicks a ball, or that a chef only puts ingredients together. And honestly, I don't even think those are powerful enough analogies to compare what I'm talking about. And I think when I explain how Chinese medicine works and how it works for fertility and women's health issues, it will make a lot more sense to you. But acupuncture and Chinese medicine go so much deeper than just increasing blood flow and just calming your nervous system. But I should say, if all acupuncture and Chinese medicine, if that was all it did, that alone would be like 50% of the equation for most women. There's so much power to calming the nervous system. I don't think we understand how much the nervous system affects our physical health and our reproductive health on a whole, but that's not even the point, because acupuncture and Chinese medicine do so much more than that. So first, to get into it, I need to describe a little bit about what is acupuncture and Chinese medicine. So first, when I'm talking about Chinese medicine, it is a complete set of medicine, right? So a lot of times when I say Chinese medicine, people assume I just mean acupuncture, and I do not. When I'm talking about Chinese medicine, I'm talking about Eastern medicine nutrition. So that is a big part of Chinese medicine, is diet and nutrition. And Eastern medicine, Chinese medicine nutrition differentiates from Western medicine nutrition in the fact that we take into account the energy of the food, right? And I'll get into this more in a little bit, but everything has an energy to it, and the food we eat has an energy to it. The way we cook our food has an energy to it. The way we eat and consume our food has an energy to it. And that is all very important for our health and aligning our health. Chinese medicine also includes lifestyle, right? So it includes exercise and movement. It includes everything that's going on in your day, right? A big part of my practice is teaching women how to balance their yin and yang energy. And if you're not familiar with what that is, when I say that, everything in nature needs to be a balance of yin and yang, and ideally us as humans are supposed to be a balance of yin and yang. Now, yin is rest, it's relaxation, it's meditation, right? Yin you can think of as nighttime and restoration, and yang is everything else. It's daytime, it's energy, it's sunshine, it's work, it's social events, right? And ideally, we want our lives to be a balance of yin and yang. So a big part of Chinese medicine in my practice is helping women really find that balance in their life. And then herbs and supplements are also a part of Chinese medicine. I'll be honest, they're not the biggest part of my practice, because my practice is to get to the root cause of what's going on. And it's my belief that supplements and herbs don't really get to the root cause, but they can be really supportive in helping your body heal. So I use supplements as a supplement, not as a main tool. And then lastly, and probably most importantly, Chinese medicine includes mindset, right? So our thoughts and beliefs and everything going on in our mind play a big part in what's going on in our physical energy. And to just give you a really easy example that I think most people connect with, is that when you're feeling worried or stressed, where do you feel that in your body? A lot of people will feel that in their stomach. Like you may actually have to urinate more, or you might get diarrhea or have to go to the bathroom more. That's your thoughts and emotions affecting your physical body. It's the same reason why kids or even adults, if they get really scared, they might pee their pants. That energy of our mind affecting our physical body. So now, to better understand how acupuncture and Chinese medicine can support fertility and women's health issues, let's talk about what is acupuncture. And I'm going to be honest with you, like, I'm trying to make this as simple as possible, but it took me over 4 years to really understand acupuncture and Chinese medicine. but I don't think it should have to take that long. So I'm going to put it in terms that I feel like make sense to me and hopefully you connect with also. Really simply put, acupuncture is the movement of energy in our body, which when I say that alone, it sounds so mundane, but to make that make sense and to give some background to that, everything in nature has an energy to it. At the basis of every cell and atom and molecule, what you're left with is energy. Everything in life is energy. Energy is everything. A lot of times when people like think about or talk about energy medicine, it's like it's woo-woo medicine. It's not. Like literally everything is energy. So if you are trying to heal yourself or fix a condition and you're not working with energy, then you're not really doing anything. Every cell of our body has energy to it. Every thought, belief, emotion, and action has energy to it. Every virus or cold or bacteria that we come in contact to has an energy to it. Food has an energy to it. Our relationships have an energy to it. Our connections to ourselves and other people and how we feel about ourselves and the world and other people, everything has an energy to it. So what acupuncture is doing, it is tapping into that energy. We talk about energy in Chinese medicine, we typically call it qi. Qi is a lot more than just energy, but energy is the simplest way to translate it. In Chinese medicine, we have multiple layers of qi, of energy in our body. And those three main layers are our external, our internal, and our constitutional. And now when we're working with Chinese medicine and acupuncture for women's health and fertility, we could be working on any of those levels. So let me explain them to you. So the external layer is the energy, the qi that runs throughout our muscles, joints, and soft tissues in our body. Soft tissues in our body include our bladder and our uterus. Our external layer is called our Wei Qi, and our Wei Qi is also our immune system. So our Wei Qi is our defense against the outside world. The same way our immune system is our defense against germs, right, against the outside world. So Wei Qi is kind of like a soft armor where it keeps away those bad germs, but also allows you to assimilate and react to things. So a real easy way to describe Wei Qi is that if you were to touch a hot pan, that automatic reaction of your hand pulling back is financed by your Wei Qi. It's the movement of Wei Qi that's telling you to move your hand away before your mind can even connect to the fact that that pan is hot. Wei Qi also controls the circulation of our blood flow and our menstrual cycle. So if you have spotting or you have painful periods, that can be Wei Qi in action. It can also be other things, but just giving examples. If you have trouble sleeping at night, that can be your Wei Qi not coming into your chest, into your heart at night. Wei Qi is meant to be active, but not overactive. So then we have our second layer of Qi, which is also called our nutritive Qi or blood Qi, and that is the internal layer. That's what I'm going to be calling the internal layer today. And that has to do with circulation and blood flow. It has to do with moving blood stagnation in the body. It has to do with our body creating energy through the food that we eat. And this energy layer can be really important because a lot of women's health issues are related to blood stagnation. Things like endometriosis, fibroids, and cysts can often be related to blood stagnation, as well as things like painful periods, breast tenderness sometimes, moodiness. A lot of this is related to blood stagnation. So that internal layer of qi, that internal level of energy is where acupuncture and Chinese medicine is really supportive for things like blood flow and circulation throughout the body, and bringing that blood flow to the uterus where it needs to be in order to get pregnant and maintain a healthy pregnancy. And then lastly, and I'd say almost most importantly when it comes to fertility especially, but women's health in general, we have our constitutional layer, our constitutional level of qi, which we call yuan qi, but you don't really need to remember that. You just need to know it's your constitutional qi. And our constitutional qi is our DNA level, right? It's the genes that we were born with. It's our cellular level. That's where cellular change is actually made. It's important to understand that like we were given genes, we have DNA, we develop things as we age. All our genes can be turned on and off. And that's where this layer, that constitutional layer of energy really comes into play. And what I find with a lot of women's health conditions is that there is a constitutional aspect to it, which could mean something like, your mother or grandmother had a similar issue, but it doesn't have to mean that. Typically, we see constitutional issues show up as things that started early in childhood. So for menstruation, this could be something that started when you first started menstruating, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that because your menstrual cycle could be affected by something that happened earlier in life, but showing up later in life. And to give a really easy example of this is if we've had chronic digestion for most of our life, that means that our body is not effectively absorbing and assimilating the nutrients from the food that we eat. And when we're not assimilating the nutrients from the food that we eat, our body doesn't have the fuel, the energy it needs to create resources for a healthy menstrual cycle. And this might not show up right away because we're all born with something called prenatal chi, right? That essence, that energy that's always going to be within us, and that can support us for a long time. But our nutritive chi, our postnatal chi, needs to kick in at some point, and that's the chi that we get, the energy that we get from the food that we eat. So you may have a normal menstrual cycle, and then you go through a period of stress and it's too much on your body, and all of a sudden things change, right? But all that might be related to your digestive issues that you've had most of your life. And things like staying on medication, especially birth control long term, can affect our constitutional energy. So our constitutional energy isn't just things that we're born with, but it's our experiences in life and the energy that carries in our body, and also, pretty much everything we do. And I typically say that it's our constitutional energy that's deeply related to fertility, because women are born with our eggs, right? We're born with all the eggs that we'll ever have. So you don't get much more constitutional than that. So really simply put, acupuncture is the movement and alignment of energy in our body on an external, internal, and constitutional level. And these acupuncture channels, not only do they connect with our physical energy and can make physical changes in our body, they also connect with our emotional energy and our mindset and our thoughts and beliefs to really be able to change our mind and the way we view things and the way we view the world. A big part of the constitutional energy channels is that they hold the blueprint of our life, right? So they hold the energy of everything that's happened to our life, in our lives, and they hold the energy of our thoughts and beliefs about moving forward. So that's a big part of the constitutional energy channels. They hold everything we've experienced in life. So some real life examples of things that women have come to me with is they grew up in an environment where parents were always yelling and screaming at each other, and then they got divorced when they were about 8 and felt abandoned, right? That has an energy to it, and it has a constitutional energy that will not only throw you off emotionally, but will throw off your physical body. And I'm going to give some examples later because I think the examples will help connect this a little bit better. But before we go into some real life examples, to answer the question, how does Chinese medicine support fertility and women's health? It does it by supporting every single aspect of your physical and emotional health. And it does it by really getting to the root cause of what is going on and then reversing that. So to give you an example here, I am fortunate enough to get to work with a lot of women who have endometriosis. And I get to work with a lot of women in this community, I feel like, because most people will tell you that endometriosis is not curable, and it absolutely is curable. And if you're interested in learning more about endometriosis from my perspective and the root cause, you can check out episode number 8, where I talk all about it on this podcast. Endometriosis in Chinese medicine, from a very simple perspective, is blood stagnation, right? But we need to get to the root of why there is blood stagnation in the first place, right? And some reasons for that could be that your blood is depleted. When our blood is depleted, our body constricts that blood flow and creates stagnation in order to conserve resources. So that is a reason, but then we have to go to, why is our blood depleted, right? Is it the food that we're eating? Is it because we're storing too many thoughts and emotions and beliefs that get stored in our blood, which is very depleting on our body, right? There's always a root cause. Is it that the energy of our spleen is out of balance and we're not digesting and absorbing the food that we eat, so therefore we don't have the energy to create blood? There's always a root cause, and that's what Chinese medicine does. At least the way I work is I get to the root cause of what's going on. And that way we can reverse things. Another really important aspect of Chinese medicine that's vital to understanding is that our body is always supporting us. And it might not always do so in a way that feels comfortable or that we like, but our body is always trying to keep us alive. So going back to endometriosis for a moment, right? That blood stagnation, it can create pain in your body. It can create infertility, but you're still alive, right? Our body's conserving those resources of blood to keep you alive, to send the blood to your organs that actually need it, to provide that blood to area of your bodies to keep you alive. And I know that sounds so dramatic, but it's true. If we didn't have this intense network of energy channels in place, a common cold would wipe out our society, right? If we didn't have Wei Qi, our external energy, our immune system to defend us, then we would all be gone. And things like tumors, masses, cysts, fibroids in the body, those nodules in the body, that's from keeping that pathogen, that energy, that negative energy, which I should probably explain pathogen first. A pathogen is anything that our body comes into contact with that it's too much for us. So that's a virus or a cold that our body doesn't have the energy to just get rid of right away. That can sit in our body. A pathogen can be thoughts, beliefs, and emotions that are too hard for us, again, to push away. So that sits in our body. Pathogens can be toxins in the body. It can be a lot of things. And these pathogens is what ultimately creates all disease in the body. So when you have mass tumors, cysts, fibroids, things like that, any of like nodules and masses, that's our body keeping that pathogen away from our vital organs. Because if that pathogen were to get to your vital organs, which sometimes it does, that ends up in chronic disease and death. I'm saying this first so that you understand where Chinese medicine is coming from, but also like to help you see things differently when you're looking at your body. In Western medicine, I feel like we grow up believing that our body is not supporting us. And, I grew up with Western medicine. I grew up taking antibiotics and a pill for absolutely everything, right? I had painful periods for most of my 20s, and for most of my 20s and actually teenage years, I took Midol, I took too much Tylenol, I was given naproxen, I was given birth control. Like, my painful periods were not meant to be happening. Like, that was my body not supporting me, was my thought. So I would give a pill to suppress it. And the truth is, my body has been supporting me all along. I just didn't know it. And I think that is a really common misconception that we have through the Western medicine lens, is that like our body is doing something wrong. But your body is not doing something wrong. Your body is never doing something wrong. And one of the biggest reasons I see all these women showing up in my practice with chronic reproductive health issues or infertility is because those signs and symptoms that your body has been giving you for so long have been suppressed, which again is not your fault, right? It's what your doctor told you, or it's that your doctor gaslit you, or it's what someone else told you, right? You weren't most of us were not taught or grew up knowing that there's another alternative. And that is like really one of my main goals in life, is really just for people to be aware and acknowledge that there is another alternative. You always have choices. So let me give you a few quick patient examples that I think will help give a better understanding about how Chinese medicine and acupuncture can really support women's health issues and fertility. So first off, let me talk about a patient who I'll call her Alice. That's definitely not her real name. I'm not giving any personal patient information on this podcast. So she came to me trying to get pregnant with her second child, and she'd been trying for about a year when she first came to me. And when she came to me, she was relatively healthy. Her cycles were short, so around 23 days. And when I say her cycles were short, it meant that she was ovulating around probably day 14, and then the luteal phase was not long enough. And if the luteal phase is not long enough, that's typically related in Western medicine to not having enough progesterone, but it basically is a signal that your body doesn't have the energy to support a pregnancy. If your body can't hold the menstrual cycle in your luteal phase for 14 days, it means it can't hold the pregnancy in place either. And through conversations and investigating, it came up that this woman, Alice, had a lot of anger in her life, a lot of anger towards work, towards family. And, through more digging and investigation, these came back to a feeling of not feeling supported. And when I'm giving you this story, this is over weeks. This is not just one session. But I'm just really trying to condense it for you here. So what we discovered is that feeling of not feeling supported, and that reaction, that trigger of anger, came back to childhood experiences of her parents being divorced, feeling abandoned, and feeling like she had to be an adult too early, and that she had to take care of everyone else, but nobody was taking care of her. Now, I just want to also point out here, anything that triggers us comes from somewhere else. Even when my kids are being so annoying and I'm exhausted and I'm triggered by them, it's not them that's triggering me. It's other past experiences that is causing my reality, right? Our reality and our perception is based on our past experiences, and that's what is really triggering us. It's our past experience that are triggering us. So whenever you feel like you're constantly triggered by something, it's really important to explore why. So anyways, the reason this anger was a problem for this patient, Alice, is because upon checking her pulses and diagnosing her through her tongue, I could feel that her yang energy was leaking. Now, yang energy in Chinese medicine, what's the best way to describe this? So the reason that yang energy leaking is such a big deal is because we're only born with so much yang energy. Yang energy is like really our essence. And yes, we can create yang energy through diet and lifestyle, but it's really hard to create yang energy. It's so much easier to create yin energy. So when we're leaking yang energy, we're just really depleting our bodies. Now, on top of that, this patient, Alice, was using exercise as stress relief. Now, and high intensity workouts as stress relief. Here's the problem. When you're stressed, that's yang energy, right? And when you do high intensity workouts, that's yang energy. It's essentially like putting out a fire with fire. And this leakage and expression of yang energy was causing her cycles to be short and her progesterone to be low and that luteal phase to be too short, because the luteal phase is really signified by yang energy, right? That rise in heat, that rise in basal body temperature is our rise in yang energy. So what was happening was she was depleting all of her yang energy through anger and stress that her body didn't have enough to support a pregnancy. So here's what we did. We supported through diet. I always support through diet. And we worked with the Chinese medicine channels. Specifically, we worked with the low vessels. So in Chinese medicine, we hold our emotions in our blood. So it worked with the low vessels, which are that internal layer, that blood layer, to help to release some of that tension that was immediately going on in her body, right? To release that anger from her. And then after we did that, we worked with the constitutional energy channels to really address why this anger was coming up and to really root that yang, to bring that yang, that stress, that anger down. So we worked a lot with the energy channel of Renmai. So Renmai is the Sea of Yin, and the Sea of Yin roots yang. So we worked with Renmai to root the yang energy. But what also Renmai and the Sea of Yin does is has a essence of feeling supported. It has that essence of an attachment to ourselves and feeling whole and supported in ourselves in a way that feels good, a way where we feel like capable beings, but also like we can reach out into the world, to our community, and other people are there to support us. It really helps to work on that energy of not feeling supported. And I gave her mindfulness practices that she could do at home for that when the emotions did come up, right? Like how could she work with that emotion and not just store it in her body? So we did this for about 4 months, and then she was able to get pregnant and now has 2 beautiful children. Another patient came to me who had been dealing with amenorrhea, not getting her period for 5 years. She was in her mid-20s. She'd seen every doctor and healer under the sun and was not able to get her cycle back. And, when we dug into this, so this was partially due to diet. She had led a vegan and vegetarian diet for a big portion of her life, but it went a lot deeper than diet, because her body was not absorbing the food that she was eating. And this showed up in other ways with things like eczema and hip pain and bloating. Her body was screaming out to her in a lot of ways that something was off. And so when she came to see me, we were able to address these things through investigation over weeks, over seeing what her body was telling me through signs, symptoms, pulse, and tongue, and hearing what she was saying to me. We found a root cause. And when I say a root cause, sometimes a root cause is like peeling back an onion. It's not always just one root cause, but there's often layers to that root cause. And a lot of times that root cause does come back to one nagging negative thought or belief that we cannot get rid of. But a lot of her root cause came back to not feeling safe to express herself, not feeling safe to live her life the way she wanted to because of the way she was raised and the way that she felt like she was meant to show up in the world. She was not living the life that she was meant to do because she felt scared to, because she felt like she wasn't supposed to, or that she'd be ridiculed for doing so. And so what we did is we worked with the 8 extraordinary channels, the constitutional energy channels in our body that really have to do with being able to nourish our body, nourish our mind, and nourish ourselves, and really feel good about ourselves, to give her that power, to give her that voice, to give her that strength, to really stand in herself and be who she is and who she's meant to be. And we worked on that for 6 months to a year, and she got her cycle back. And she also made other big changes in her life as she was coming more into her own. Another thing I often see in my practice is women trying to get pregnant who have low thyroid function or low basal body temperature, or both, or just women who have low thyroid function who don't want to be on medication for the rest of their lives. And what I often find in women that have low thyroid function or low basal body temperature is the sense of cold or dampness going on. There's cold or dampness. Again, we need to get the root cause of why there is cold or dampness in the body to begin with. Like, yes, in Chinese medicine, especially with herbal medicine, you can quote unquote drain dampness or quote unquote drain cold. But if the body doesn't have the resources to be able to withstand that draining, it's going to throw your body in the other direction in a bad way. But also it's just going to come back, right? So we need to get to the root cause of why there's cold and dampness in the first place. And a big reason for dampness in the body is that our spleen energy is not working correctly, right? So our body's not digesting our food properly, and that creates mucus in our body. Mucus does have a cold nature to it, and when mucus stagnates, that's what we call dampness. Dampness can be things like PCOS and cysts and fibroids. Dampness can be things like allergies, gaining weight easily, or having trouble losing weight. It can be actual edema in the body. Dampness can show up in many ways. And why dampness will also affect our basal body temperature is because dampness, again, it has a cold energy to it, but it also suppresses our yang energy. So you can almost think of it like a blanket on top of a fire, right? Like that fire can't rise when that blanket's on top of it. Or maybe I should say a fire protective blanket. So a fire can't rise when a fire protected blanket is on top of it. And typically what I find in Chinese medicine when it comes to low thyroid function affecting basal body temperature or just low thyroid function in general, it has to do with feelings of not feeling good about yourself. And a lot of times it can take a lot of work and investigation to get to this emotion and root cause, because oftentimes there is a subconscious belief of not feeling good enough about ourselves or not feeling worthy, but that can often be masked through confidence, especially in women that work in high-powered jobs or are really social, right? Like there is this sense that they feel confident and they feel good about themselves, but it shows up in other ways, such as like people pleasing, always feeling responsible for other people's emotions, or never being able to sit still, right? Or feeling uncomfortable if you lose your job or have a few weeks off because you're not achieving. It's this feeling that you always need to be doing, achieving, supporting someone else to gain your worthiness, right? This is idea that if you're just sitting still, like, who are you? This idea that like you have to always be doing something. And that the root cause of that is that we don't truly feel worthy and love ourselves. And when we don't truly feel worthy and truly love ourselves, it affects the constitutional energy channel of what we call yin chao mai in Chinese medicine. And yin chao mai affects our thyroid function. It's a channel that passes through our kidney channel. It passes through our neck. It creates dampness in the body. It creates yin stagnation. It really stagnates our body. It brings our energy in. So this can also show up as hunched shoulders or your knees or ankles turning in as your body is like physically trying to turn in to hide yourself from the world. And it's this heavy energy that suppresses our thyroid function. And this is like really the beauty of Chinese medicine and why I love it, because if we work on this channel yin chao mai, which again, it's not the same for everyone. I'm just giving an example. If we work on this channel yin chao mai, not only will it move that dampness and stagnation in their body so that your thyroid can function correctly, it will also help change your vision and view of yourself to help support how you feel about yourself, how you feel in your body, how you feel in the world, to be able to really show up as your best self, to really love and honor yourself for who you are and not what you're doing. So I hope that was a powerful enough explanation of how Chinese medicine and acupuncture work to support fertility and women's health. And again, like this took me years to really internalize. So I'm not necessarily expecting you to totally understand or internalize everything, but really just understand how powerful the medicine is. So next, I want to answer some common questions I get about acupuncture and Chinese medicine when it comes to using it to support women's health and fertility. And the first question is, how often and what time of the month should you be getting acupuncture? And the answer is, there is no right time of the month. You should be getting acupuncture weekly. And I say to always start by committing to 12 weeks. Acupuncture treatments build on each other, right? The same way going to the gym builds on each other, right? You wouldn't go to one gym session and expect to have a six-pack. The same thing with acupuncture. You will see results along the way, but it takes time. Now, the reason I say to always commit to at least 12 weeks is because 12 weeks, roughly, so 100 days is a cycle of Jing. Jing is our kidney essence. Jing is our constitutional energy. So it takes a cycle of 3 months of 100 days to really recycle and rejuvenate constitutional energy. It also gives us a chance to work through 3 full menstrual cycles for most women, which is really important to regulating your cycle. That being said, not everyone I see is healed in 3 months. Like, I would be a miracle worker if every woman I saw was healed from their condition in 3 months. A lot are, but I would definitely not say the majority are. Well, I don't know. I can't do percentages. A lot feel better. You will definitely, after 3 months, 12 sessions, you will feel like a different person. You will feel better. It doesn't mean you're 100% healed, right? True healing takes time, and it's like peeling back layers. I've been on a healing journey for like 10 years, right? Like, I still have issues come up. I still have things that come up. I'm not in a stage in my life where I go to acupuncture or I need support weekly, but I still get support every once in a while. So typically what I see as a continuum is committing to 12 weeks. Usually those 12 weeks will be weekly. Sometimes they'll be weekly for 4 weeks or 6 weeks, and we're making big progress, and then we'll move to every other week. Or after the 12 weeks, we'll move to every other week, or we'll move to once a month, right? It really depends on that person and the progress that they're making. And also a lot of that has to do with how you're supporting yourself at home, right? Like how you're really internalizing the suggestions and recommendations that are given to you. I'd say the only time of the month that I wouldn't get acupuncture or would take a pause is that if you're on your menstrual cycle, but you don't actually have any issues with that bleeding portion that you want to work on, right? That can be a time of rest, those 3 to 5 days. And again, let's say you're dealing with luteal phase defect, right? Your luteal phase is too short and you want to lengthen your luteal phase. You wouldn't just get acupuncture during your luteal phase, because that shortened luteal phase is a result of something that's going on in your body, right? And we need to work on that root cause and rebalancing your body, not just like forcing your luteal phase during 2 weeks. It just doesn't work like that. Another question I frequently get asked is like, how long does it take to work? And I kind of just answered that, but it's really across the board. It really depends what's going on in your body, what you're working through, right? When I work with acute physical injuries, it's often 1 session, maybe 2 or 3, but like usually 1, right? Like I sprained my ankle last year. I treated myself 3 days and I was fine to go to a dance class. So like acute injuries can heal pretty fast. But when it comes to chronic issues that you've been dealing with maybe your whole life or a long time, it can take time. And the progress, again, like it depends on every person. Some people I see after 3 months and they've hit their goals. Some people it takes 6 months or a year. Whatever time period it takes you, you should be seeing progress and changes along the way. It's not just like one day you wake up and like you're in perfect health. It's a process. It's an unfolding. And it often to people will feel like this unfolding in a really beautiful way. Another question that I recently got that I absolutely love is that, is there anything Chinese medicine can't treat in terms of women's health? And the truth is that Chinese medicine can treat everything. It can treat everything. When I say everything, I do mean everything. It can treat blocked fallopian tubes. It can treat quote unquote unexplained fertility, which honestly is bullshit. It's not unexplained. You just haven't been looking in the right places, because not everything is found in lab tests. And that's also what I love about Chinese medicine. But it can treat everything. If you don't have a uterus, if you don't have fallopian tubes, Chinese medicine cannot treat that, right? It can't physically give you something like a physical structure in your body. And another limitation that, one of my teachers once said is that acupuncture can treat everything. It can't treat everybody. And that's just the truth, right? Like some people don't want to heal, not consciously, but there are people who don't want to heal. There are people who don't want to make changes in their life. There are people who don't want to face their reality, who are so close-minded to changing their perception. And there's only so much Chinese medicine can do for that. But if you are open and wanting to heal your body naturally, if you are really open to making changes, to really exploring your life, you're really open to the long game, not just wanting like a quick fix or a pill, then Chinese medicine can help you with whatever you're going through. Another question I frequently get asked as a Chinese medicine practitioner is, what are my thoughts on pre-pregnancy lab tests? And let me just start by these are my thoughts. It's not necessarily a Chinese medicine thing because they didn't have lab tests 3,000 years ago. It's not written in any classical text. If you want to go the Western medicine route, then absolutely pre-pregnancy lab tests are a must. If you're wanting to heal your body naturally, I think pre-pregnancy lab tests can actually make it harder because it puts you in this mindset of something's wrong with you, right? So let's say you want to go the Chinese medicine route and you want to heal your body naturally, but you also just want to know what's going on in your body. And I get that. When I was getting pregnant, when I was trying to get pregnant with my first child, I went off birth control. I didn't get my period for a long time. After a few months, I did go to a doctor to see what was going on. But I also went to the doctor understanding that they were going to tell me something and then I was going to walk out the office and not come back again because that wasn't really important to me. But it's I just wanted that reassurance. So if you just want that reassurance, then go ahead, go for it. But what I see a lot of times is women go in for these lab tests and something is off, right? Their AMH is low, which is an absolute bullshit number, which I talk about a lot, but AMH has absolutely no correlation to your ability to get pregnant naturally. So if your AMH is low, really just rip up that paper and burn it and just forget it ever happened. But they see that their AMH is low or their progesterone is low or their estrogen is low. And then it's okay, but what to do about it, right? You feel leaving your body is broken. And your body's not broken. As I mentioned before, your body's always supporting you, right? So it's really what you feel like it's going to support you best. Some people feel better in that mindset of knowing what's going on, and some people feel more constricted in that mindset of knowing what's going on. But that being said, from a Chinese medicine practitioner, I don't need lab tests to treat you because I am not treating a Western diagnosis. This is another part of Chinese medicine that I probably should have mentioned earlier in this podcast, but in Chinese medicine, I am never treating a symptom. I am not treating a Western medicine diagnosis. I am treating you as a person. So, right? So 5 different people could have the same symptom, right? 5 different people could have painful periods, and I would be treating them in 5 different ways because there's different channels that could be affected. There's different root causes. There's different reasons for painful periods. And that really is the biggest difference between Chinese medicine and Western medicine is that I'm not treating a condition, I'm treating a person, which is also why it's really hard to study Chinese medicine, but that's, a whole nother conversation. And when I say study, I mean through research. It's really hard to research Chinese medicine because we're not treating a condition with set points. I'm treating a person. And through speaking to people, investigating, asking questions, signs and symptoms, but most importantly, through feeling someone's pulse or energy remotely, I can tell a world of what's going on in your body. I can tell not only what channel is showing up, but why it's happening and where it's coming from. Our body has so much wisdom and knowledge, and it tells us so much. And that's what this medicine has really taught me is that our body knows everything. Our body knows way more than we do. And our pulse is actually this really beautiful thing that tells us literally everything, right? So I mentioned earlier at a patient who's young was leaking, right? I feel that through the pulse, but then I also feel what's the best way to treat that? Because again, there's multiple ways to treat that. And that's really the beauty of really knowing pulse taking and the beauty of Chinese medicine. And lastly, a question that I get frequently is what role do the energy of the kidneys play in Chinese medicine? And this usually comes from people who've been working in Chinese medicine, have seen an acupuncturist in some capacity. And I think there's a lot of false knowledge out there about that. But the energy of the kidneys is a big part of our reproductive health. We need strong kidneys to have a child. Our kidneys control reproduction, they control growth, they control aging. So the energy of our kidneys is really everything when it comes to reproductive health. But I think it's important to understand when we're talking about the energy of the kidneys, again, it's not our physical kidney, it's the energy below on our lower body. So it includes the energy of our uterus. And our kidneys hold all of our yin and yang energy. So our kidneys are like a storage house for all of our energy, which is why they're so important. That being said, it is so infrequent that I see a patient that actually has a quote unquote kidney deficiency because we're all born with a lot of prenatal energy and then the postnatal energy, the postnatal chi that we get through food. And yes, sometimes our kidneys do need support if we're drinking a lot of coffee or we're overworking for years, or if you're 48 and you're trying to get pregnant, right? Natural aging, your kidneys would definitely need support. But more times than not, I feel this is a false rhetoric that your kidneys are weak or your kidneys need support. And to give you a funny story, so when I was in school for Chinese medicine, everyone goes to this stage in acupuncture school where you feel like you have everything, right? And for like the longest time, I was convinced that like I needed more kidney energy, right? And I was 28 or 28, 29, I'm not sure. Anyways, this was also like around the period the time of my life when I was trying to conceive. So it was around like 29, 30. At 29, 30, you have a ton of kidney energy, right? Like there's no reason for me to have thought that, but I was convinced that like my kidneys were depleted and that's why I was having trouble getting pregnant. And the truth is my kidneys were not depleted at all. It's our kidneys, the energy of our kidneys that support all of our other organs. So what was more of an issue of me was the firing of my kidney energy to support the energy of my spleen, to support digestion and building blood in the body, right? But like my kidneys themselves were not depleted. They just weren't firing properly, which, can be reversed through Chinese medicine. So hopefully that gives you a good overview about how Chinese medicine and acupuncture can support you for any women's health issues, can support you for fertility. If you have any questions or you're looking for one-on-one support, as always, please reach out. And thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in to There She Goes. I hope today's episode helped you see the connection between your emotions and physical health a little more clearly. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with anyone who could benefit from this conversation. And remember, true healing starts from within. Let's keep exploring that journey together. See you next time.